What if I told you that a single phrase, rooted in ancient wisdom, could make any woman feel an instant, almost irresistible connection with you? A phrase so powerful that it shifts the way she sees you, not as someone trying to impress her, but as someone she wants to understand, to be around, to connect with on a deeper level. Sounds too good to be true, right? I don't blame you for being skeptical. After all, we live in a world where attraction is often misunderstood, where people chase surface-level tricks instead of focusing on something deeper, something real. But here's the truth. Attraction isn't about cheesy lines, flashy gestures, or trying to be someone you're not. It's about presence. It's about the energy you carry, the way you communicate, and the mindset behind your words. The right words, when said with the right intent, can spark something in someone. Curiosity, admiration, even desire. Not because they manipulate, but because they reflect something deeper about you. Something rare, something magnetic. You see, most men don't realize this. They think compliments like, "You're beautiful," or "You have a great smile," are enough. But the reality is, she's heard those 100 times before. They don't make her stop and think. They don't make her feel anything new. Real attraction happens when your words make her see herself differently, when they awaken emotions she didn't expect to feel. That's exactly what this phrase does. And by the time you finish this video, you'll understand why it works, how to use it, and most importantly, how to carry the mindset that makes it powerful. Because attraction isn't about chasing, it's about being. And once you understand that, everything changes. But how does this actually work? How can just a few words change the way someone feels about you? The answer is simple. Words shape emotions. They create perceptions, set the tone for interactions, and leave an impression that lingers far beyond the conversation itself. The right words can make someone feel valued, understood, and drawn to you in a way they can't quite explain. But here's the problem. Most men don't use words this way. They rely on generic compliments, saying things like, "You're beautiful," or "I like your dress," hoping that flattery alone will create a spark. But it doesn't. It might get a polite thank you, maybe even a smile, but it doesn't ignite real attraction. Because attraction isn't built on words alone, it's built on the emotions those words create. Think about it. When a woman hears the same compliments over and over, they start to lose meaning. They don't make her feel special because they could be said to anyone. But when someone speaks to her in a way that makes her think, that makes her feel seen in a way she hasn't before, that's when something shifts. That's when curiosity turns into interest, and interest turns into connection. The difference between a forgettable conversation and one that lingers in her mind is how you make her feel. And this is where the wisdom of the Stoics comes in. Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotions or acting indifferent. It's about mastering them. It's about understanding that confidence isn't something you perform. It's something you embody. The most attractive men in history weren't the ones who tried the hardest or chased the most. They were the ones who carried themselves with certainty, who didn't need validation from others, who spoke with intention rather than desperation. Because here's the truth. Attraction isn't about chasing. It's about presence. When you carry yourself with calm self-assurance, when your words reflect thoughtfulness instead of neediness, people are drawn to you naturally. There's no effort, no force, just an undeniable energy that pulls them in. And that's exactly what the phrase you're about to learn will do. It isn't about impressing her. It's about making her feel something real, something different. Because when you understand how to use your words to create the right emotions, you don't need to convince anyone to like you. They'll feel it on their own. And that's what makes it powerful. And this is where everything changes. Most men enter conversations hoping to be liked, hoping to say the right thing that earns approval. But that's exactly why they fail. When you seek validation, you give away your power. You make the other person the judge of your worth. But the moment you stop needing to be liked, the moment you shift your focus from approval to authenticity, people start seeing you differently. And this is where one of the most powerful phrases comes in. I don't seek validation. I seek meaning. These words do something most compliments never will. They don't try to impress. They don't try to convince. Instead, they reveal something deeper about you. Something rare. Confidence without arrogance. Purpose without desperation. A man who doesn't need to be liked, but chooses to be understood. And that's exactly what makes it so powerful. Imagine a conversation where someone asks about your goals, your passions, or even what you look for in a person. Most people respond with what they think the other person wants to hear. They shape their answers to fit expectations, hoping to sound impressive. But when you respond with, I don't seek validation, I seek meaning, the energy shifts instantly. It catches them off guard. It makes them pause and think, because it's not the kind of answer they're used to. It doesn't follow the usual script of trying to be impressive. Instead, it makes them curious. What does he mean by that? What kind of person thinks this way? And that's the secret. Real attraction isn't about trying harder. It's about standing apart. Not in an artificial way, not in a way that tries to force admiration, but in a way that signals something deeper. Most men fear being different. They avoid statements like this because they worry about how they'll be perceived. But the truth is, the people who leave the strongest impressions are never the ones who fit in perfectly. They're the ones who own who they are, who speak with intention, who don't need permission to be themselves. And when you use this phrase in the right moment, when talking about your goals, your passions, or even your perspective on relationships, it creates a shift. It shows that you have standards, that you aren't looking for shallow approval, but for something real, that you value meaning over attention. And that's rare. That's what makes you different. Because at the end of the day, attraction isn't about making someone like you. It's about making them feel something, making them think, making them see you as someone they don't just want to talk to, but someone they want to understand. And when you carry that mindset, you don't have to seek validation. People will naturally be drawn to you. And this is where the real shift happens. Most men spend their time trying to prove themselves, trying to say the right things to be liked. But the moment you stop chasing approval and start setting your own standards, the entire dynamic changes. Instead of trying to impress, you create an energy where the other person naturally wants to step up, to show you who they really are. And that's exactly why the next phrase is so powerful. I admire women who know what they stand for. It's subtle, but it flips the script in a way that most people aren't used to. Instead of putting yourself in the position of seeking validation, you set a standard. You communicate that you value depth, that you respect people who have strong beliefs, clear ambitions, and a sense of purpose. And in doing so, you naturally invite a different kind of conversation, one that moves beyond small talk and into something real. Think about it. Most people aren't used to being challenged in this way. They're used to simple compliments, to surface-level conversations that don't require much thought. But when you say something like this, it makes them pause. It makes them reflect on themselves. And more importantly, it makes them want to show you that they are, in fact, someone who stands for something. Without even realizing it, they start qualifying themselves to you. They start sharing their opinions, their values, their deeper thoughts, because suddenly they want to be seen as someone you admire. And that's the key. Real connection isn't about constantly proving yourself. It's about creating a space where both people can bring something meaningful to the table. And when you use this phrase at the right moment, when she's talking about her passions, her ambitions, or what she believes in, it naturally deepens the conversation. It moves away from shallow pleasantries and into something that actually matters. This is what separates a forgettable interaction from one that lingers in the mind. Because the truth is, most people aren't used to feeling truly seen. They aren't used to conversations that make them think about who they are at their core. And when you can create that moment, when you can make someone reflect on themselves in a way that feels exciting rather than forced, you become someone they don't just enjoy talking to. You become someone they remember. Because at the end of the day, attraction isn't about trying to win someone over. It's about showing up with confidence, with presence, with the ability to lead a conversation in a way that naturally draws people in. And once you start doing that, you'll notice something interesting. You won't have to chase. You won't have to impress. People will start wanting to prove themselves to you, not because you ask them to, but because the way you carry yourself naturally invites it. And that changes everything. And this is where things start to get really interesting. Up until now, everything has been about shifting the dynamic, about stepping out of the usual role of seeking approval, and instead creating a space where the other person naturally wants to show you more of who they are. But there's another piece to this puzzle, something that keeps conversations from becoming predictable, something that makes interactions feel exciting instead of routine. And that's the power of mystery. Most conversations follow the same pattern. Someone asks a question, the other person answers, and the cycle repeats. There's nothing wrong with that, but the problem is it doesn't create any real excitement. It doesn't make the other person feel anything different. But the moment you introduce a sense of mystery, everything shifts. Suddenly the interaction has a new energy, a new sense of anticipation, and that's why this phrase works so well. There's something about you, but I haven't figured it out yet. These words do something incredibly powerful. They create curiosity. They make the other person wonder. What does he mean by that? What is it that he sees in me? And just like that, you've sparked a different kind of connection, one that isn't based on the usual back and forth, but on a subtle sense of intrigue. The key here is that it's open-ended. It doesn't define or label the person in front of you. Instead, it suggests that there's something unique about them, something worth discovering, but you're not quite sure what it is yet. And that uncertainty is what keeps them engaged. This works best during early interactions, when the conversation is still fresh and unfolding. Maybe she's telling you a story about her childhood or sharing something about her passions. Instead of responding with a generic, "That's cool," or "I like that," You pause for a moment and say, "There's something about you, but I haven't figured it out yet." And instantly, the energy shifts. She leans in, curious, maybe even a little playful. "What do you mean? What are you trying to figure out?" And just like that, she's invested, and that's the secret. When someone feels like there's something interesting about them that you're drawn to, but you're not quite sure what it is, they want to keep talking. They want to keep revealing parts of themselves, hoping to see what it is that you might be picking up on. This doesn't just make the conversation more engaging. It makes it feel like an unfolding story, like something that is developing naturally rather than being forced. But here's the important part. The phrase works because it creates intrigue, but it only works if you truly mean it. It's not about playing a game or making someone feel uncertain just for the sake of it. It's about genuinely being curious, about noticing something different in the way they express themselves, the way they talk about their experiences, or the energy they bring into a conversation. And when that curiosity is real, it becomes magnetic. Because at the end of the day, people don't just want to be liked. They want to feel understood in a way that's different from how they've been understood before. They want to feel like there's something about them that stands out, something that makes them unique in your eyes. And when you can create that feeling, not with flattery, but with real curiosity, you become someone they don't just enjoy talking to. You become someone they don't forget. And this is where everything starts to come together. Up until now, you've been learning how to shift the dynamic, how to create intrigue, how to spark curiosity in a way that naturally draws someone in. But at the core of all of this, there's one thing that truly sets you apart: your sense of inner confidence. Not the loud, flashy kind that demands attention, but the quiet, unshakable kind that comes from knowing exactly who you are. And that's why this next phrase is so powerful. I focus on what I can control. That's why I don't worry about impressing people. At first, it might seem like a simple statement, but the meaning behind it is what makes it so impactful. It communicates something rare: emotional strength, independence, and a deep understanding of yourself. Most people, whether they admit it or not, spend a huge amount of energy trying to impress others. They seek approval. They shape their words and actions based on how they think they'll be perceived. And in doing so, they unknowingly give away their power. But the moment you stop trying to impress and instead focus on what you can control, everything changes. Because here's the truth. Real confidence isn't about making people like you. It's about being so secure in yourself that you don't need external validation. And when you embody that mindset, it's magnetic. People can feel when someone is genuinely at peace with who they are. They can sense when someone's confidence isn't performative, but deeply rooted. And that's what makes this phrase hit differently. The best time to use it is when the topic of confidence, success, or mindset comes up naturally in conversation. Maybe she asks how you stay so calm under pressure, or what your approach to life is. Instead of trying to impress her with an answer that makes you look good, you simply say, I focus on what I can control. That's why I don't worry about impressing people. And in that moment, you communicate something incredibly rare: self-mastery. You show that your confidence isn't dependent on external factors. It's something you've built from within. This phrase also works in situations where someone playfully challenges you or tests your confidence. Maybe she teases you, tries to see if you'll get defensive, or throws a little skepticism your way. Instead of reacting, instead of trying to prove yourself, you just shrug and say it calmly. I focus on what I can control. That's why I don't worry about impressing people. And just like that, the power shifts. Because in that moment you're showing that you're not seeking validation. You're not looking for approval. You're simply stating how you live your life. And that kind of energy is rare. What makes this so effective is that it taps into something deeper. It's not about arrogance and it's not about indifference. It's about self-respect. It's about valuing yourself enough to not let outside opinions dictate your sense of worth. And when someone sees that in you, when they realize that you're not easily swayed, that you don't need to prove anything, they start to look at you differently. They start to see you as someone who operates on a different level. And that's the real lesson here. True confidence isn't loud. It doesn't need to be displayed. It's in the way you carry yourself, the way you respond to challenges, the way you remain steady no matter what's happening around you. It's in the quiet assurance that you are enough as you are. And when you live by that, when you internalize that, you don't have to seek connection. It naturally finds you. And this is where things get really fun. Confidence is powerful, but when you mix it with playfulness, it becomes irresistible. You see, most people approach attraction with a sense of pressure. They worry about saying the right thing, about making a perfect impression. But the truth is, the more relaxed and playful you are, the more naturally things flow. That's where this phrase comes in. I don't think you're ready for someone like me. At first glance, it might sound bold, even a little cocky. But the way you deliver it is what makes all the difference. This isn't about arrogance. It's about creating a light-hearted challenge, something that sparks curiosity and keeps the energy fun. When you say it with a smirk, with a playful tone, it flips the script. Instead of trying to win her over, you're making her wonder, wait, what does that mean? What makes him so different? And just like that, you've made the interaction more engaging. This phrase works best when there's already a little bit of chemistry. Maybe she's showing interest, asking you questions or teasing you about something. Instead of responding in a typical way, you drop this line with a confident, almost amused expression. It subtly shifts the dynamic, making her feel like she has something to prove, like she needs to show that she is ready. And that's where the magic happens. Because when people feel like they need to rise to the occasion, they naturally become more invested in the interaction. It's also the perfect response when someone playfully tests you. Maybe she jokingly questions your confidence or throws a challenge your way. Instead of defending yourself or trying to impress her, you just smile and say, I don't think you're ready for someone like me. And suddenly she's intrigued. She wants to know more. She wants to prove that she is ready. And without even realizing it, she's now more engaged in the conversation. What makes this phrase so effective is that it keeps the interaction unpredictable. Most people either try too hard to impress or play it too safe. But when you add a little mystery, a little challenge, it makes things exciting. It creates a dynamic where instead of you trying to win her over, she starts to feel like she wants to win you over. And that's a game changer. But here's the key. It only works when it's said with the right energy. If it comes across as serious or arrogant, it loses its charm. But when it's delivered with a smile, a playful smirk, It becomes magnetic. It makes her laugh, makes her curious, and makes her want to keep the conversation going. And that's the real secret. Attraction isn't about trying to convince someone to like you. It's about creating moments that feel natural, effortless, and fun. And when you can do that, everything else falls into place. And this is where you take everything to the next level. Playfulness creates attraction, but exclusivity makes it last. People don't value what is easily given, and the moment someone senses that you don't hand out your attention freely, they start to see you differently. That's what makes this phrase so powerful. Not everyone earns my attention, but I like how you think. At its core, this phrase shifts the entire dynamic of the conversation. Most people spend their time trying to gain approval, trying to be liked. But when you say this, you're doing something completely different. You're making it clear that your attention isn't automatic. It's something that has to be earned. And yet, in that same moment, you're giving her something rare. You're recognizing her not for her looks, not for surface-level qualities, but for the way she thinks. That kind of validation is different. It's meaningful. It stands out. This phrase works best when she says something insightful, something that catches you off guard in a good way. Maybe she shares a unique perspective, an interesting idea, or something that shows depth. Instead of reacting like everyone else with a simple, "That's cool," you pause for a moment and say, "Not everyone earns my attention, but I like how you think." That shift, from exclusivity to genuine appreciation, creates a spark. It makes her feel special, not because you're trying to flatter her, but because she's earned it. It's also an excellent way to transition from small talk into deeper, more engaging conversations. Maybe you've been discussing something lighthearted, but then she shares something meaningful, something personal. That's the moment to use this phrase. It signals that you recognize depth, that you value substance, and that you're someone who appreciates real connection. And because people are naturally drawn to those who make them feel seen in a unique way, this makes you stand out in a way that few others do. The key to making this work is authenticity. It's not about using the phrase just for the sake of it. It's about genuinely appreciating a moment of depth when it happens. People can tell when words are empty, but when they come from a place of truth, they carry weight. And that's what makes this so powerful. It's not just a compliment. It's an invitation, an unspoken challenge that says, "I don't give my attention easily, but you've got something interesting about you." And that makes her want to show even more of who she really is. Attraction isn't just about words. It's about energy, about the way you make someone feel. And when you create an atmosphere where your attention feels valuable, where your interest is something to be earned, it changes everything. It makes conversations deeper, connections stronger, and most importantly, it makes her see you as someone different, someone worth knowing. And that's the real secret behind all of this. These phrases aren't just words. They're a shift in the way you present yourself, in the way others perceive you. It's never about trying to impress or prove something. It's about embodying confidence, purpose, and self-respect in a way that naturally draws people in. The moment you stop chasing validation and start valuing yourself, everything changes. Women can sense it. People can feel it. And that's when attraction stops being something you try to create and starts becoming something that just happens. But here's the key. None of this works unless you actually apply it. Reading about it, understanding it, even agreeing with it isn't enough. You have to take these ideas into the real world, into real conversations, try them out, see how they feel, and most importantly, pay attention to the way people respond. Because when you start showing up differently, the way people interact with you will shift too. You'll notice that your conversations become more engaging, that people respect you more, that attraction builds in a way that feels effortless. And once you experience that, there's no going back, and we're just getting started. In the next video, I'll reveal something even more powerful, the hidden Stoic principle that makes any man 10 times more attractive without saying a single word. It's the ultimate game changer, and trust me, you won't want to miss it. If you found this valuable, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, because the next lesson is going to take everything we just learned to a whole new level.